balance of data and analytics and customer centricity, which plays into all the things we've just spoken about. Customer centricity around like roadmaps and themes of roadmaps, in terms of customer centricity around inertia and not being bogged down by product inertia and thinking everything's for yourself. If you can balance those two things, that's where you'll become the most effective product manager. I've worked in teams where you have product owners which are really good at the customer-centric part, or product manager teams which are really good at the data part, but ultimately they're not that effective unless they're paired together and kind of like can push against one another to try and get to the middle ground. If as a product owner you can be fully conscious that you will have a bias and a tendency towards one side or the other, and then try and manage that out yourself, I think that's how you become the most effective product manager. I'm absolutely massive on self-reflection. So for an hour, every Friday morning for an hour, I take myself out of the office. I go downstairs in the office block and sit by the canal outside, and I just reflect for an hour on the week. I have like a set of questions I ask myself, a set of statements that I go over, and I look back on the week. And then that's then when I do my grounding in, well, have I been overly data-centric this week? Have I been overly customer-centric this week? And how do I need to change my behaviors? The reflection's perfect because you are able to change behaviors through reflection. I always think it's really interesting why people kind of say, well, you are a data person or you are a customer person. And I always use the example that when you have like your first day at work in a new office, you're normally a different person than the person you are. Or when you go for an interview, you're slightly different than the person you actually are. The classic one is a first date. If you go on a first date, you're pretty different than who you are. There's no dirty cups lying around and whatnot. Everything's spick and span, and you're kind of this amazing gentleman that you may or may not be. So you can change your behavior for distinct periods of time if you're conscious of wanting to change your behavior. So reflection is the opportunity to identify the areas of behavior that I want to change, and then act and go and change on that. And that's how I find this balance of customer centricity and data and analytics. And I think that makes me an effective product owner. It means that week on week, it's kind of like a mini retrospective. You could look at it, like what's worked well this week, what's not worked so well, what topic do I want to think a little bit more about, and whatnot. So yeah, personal reflection is absolutely fundamental for me in becoming an effective product owner and balancing those two balls of data and customer centricity.